Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, watching the stars through the main viewport. The ship moved slowly through empty space, scanning for new worlds that might support human life. Jake had been doing this job for 10 years now, and he loved every minute of it. There was something special about being the first human to see a new star system. "Captain, we're getting a priority message from Earth Command," said Lieutenant Kate Phillips from her station. Her voice sounded worried, which was unusual for Kate. She was normally calm about everything. "Put it through to my ready room," Jake said. He walked into the small office next to the bridge and sat down at his desk. The screen came to life, showing Admiral Lisa Carter's face. She looked tired and stressed. "Jake, I need you to stop what you're doing and return to Earth immediately," Lisa said without any greeting. "We have a situation that requires all senior officers to return home," Jake frowned. In all his years of service, he had never been recalled like this. "What kind of situation, Admiral?" "The kind that could change everything for humanity," Lisa replied. "I can't say more over this channel. Just get your ship back to Earth as fast as you can." The message ended, leaving Jake staring at a blank screen. He had known Lisa for 15 years, and she was not the type to panic. If she was this worried, something very bad was happening. Back on Earth, Admiral Lisa Carter sat in her office at the orbital command station, reading the same message over and over again. The words made her sick to her stomach each time she saw them. The message had arrived 3 hours ago from the Galactic Council, and she still could not believe what it said. The Council was the group that ruled most of the galaxy. They were made up of 12 different alien species who had been in charge for thousands of years. Humans had joined the Council 200 years ago, but they had never been treated as equals. The aliens always acted like humans were children who needed to be watched and controlled. Now the Council was making their true feelings clear. They wanted humanity to give up all their colonies and return to Earth. They wanted humans to promise never to leave their home system again. They wanted humanity to accept that they would always be a small, unimportant species. Lisa's door chimed, and President Helen Brooks walked in. Helen was a strong woman who had led Earth for 6 years. She had always stood up for human rights, even when the aliens did not like it. "Have you read it?" Helen asked, sitting down across from Lisa. "3 times, Lisa replied. "I keep hoping the words will change, but they don't." "What do you think they'll do if we say no?" Lisa looked out the window at the stars. "Nothing good. The Council controls the jump gates that let our ships travel between star systems. They control the communication networks that let us talk to our colonies. They control the trade routes that bring us the materials we need. If they cut us off, we'll be trapped. And if we say yes, then we give up everything our people have worked for. We abandon 47 colonies and over 3 billion humans. We become prisoners in our own star system." Helen stood up and walked to the window. "There has to be another choice." "Maybe there is," Lisa said quietly, "but it would be dangerous." "Very dangerous." At the same time, in a secret laboratory deep under the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Rachel Kim was working on something that could change everything. She had been working on it for 5 years. Ever since she realized that the Council might one day turn against humanity, Rachel was one of the smartest people on Earth. She understood physics in ways that most people could not even imagine. For the past 5 years, she had been trying to solve a problem that the Council said was impossible. She wanted to create a way for humans to travel between stars without using the alien jump gates. "Dr. Kim, are you still down there?" called her assistant, Ben Rogers, from the elevator. "I'm here," Rachel replied, not looking up from her work. "What do you need?" "The president wants to see you." "She's on her way down." Rachel finally looked up from her computer screen. She had been working for 18 hours straight, and her eyes were red from staring at numbers and equations. "Did she say what about?" "No, but she looked serious. Really serious." A few minutes later, President Brooks and Admiral Carter stepped out of the elevator. Rachel had never seen them look so worried. "Dr. Kim," the president said, "I need to know if your project is ready." Rachel felt her heart start beating faster. They had talked about this day many times, but she had hoped it would never come. It's ready for testing, but I don't know if it will work on a large scale. We may not have a choice, Admiral Carter said. She handed Rachel a tablet with the Council's message on it. As Rachel read the message, her face grew pale. She had known. This day might come, but seeing the words made it real. The Council was not just asking humanity to step back. They were demanding it. How long do we have? Rachel asked. 72 hours, President Brooks replied. That's not much time. It's all we have. Can you do it? Rachel looked at the two most powerful people on Earth. She thought about her family, her friends, and all the humans living on distant worlds. She thought about the choice they were being forced to make. I can try, she said. But if this works, there's no going back. We'll be on our own. Maybe that's not such a bad thing, Admiral Carter said. As the three women stood in the underground laboratory. None of them knew that they were about to make a decision that would shake the entire galaxy. The Council thought they were forcing humanity to choose between surrender and destruction. They did not realize that humans had a third option. They could walk away. President Helen Brooks stood before the Global Assembly. Looking out at the faces of representatives from every nation on Earth, the Great Hall was completely silent. Everyone knew that what she was about to say would change their lives forever. My fellow humans, Helen began, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. 3 days ago, the Galactic Council delivered an ultimatum to our species. They demand that we abandon all our colonies and return to Earth. They want us to promise never to leave our home system again. They want us to accept that we will always be their servants. A wave of angry voices filled the hall. People stood up and shouted. Some called for war, others for negotiation. Helen raised her hand for silence. I know you're angry. I'm angry, too, but we must think clearly about our choices. The Council controls the technology we need to travel between stars. They control the communication systems that connect us to our colonies. If we refuse their demands, they will cut us off from everything. In the back of the hall, General Paul Henderson sat quietly, watching the crowd. He had been a soldier for 30 years, and he knew when a fight could not be won. Humanity had good ships and brave soldiers, but they were outnumbered 1,000 to 1. What about our people on the colonies? Shouted Representative Mary Johnson from the New York delegation. We can't just abandon them. We won't abandon anyone, Helen replied, but we need to be smart about how we respond. At that same moment, 47 light-years away, Colonel Amy Rogers was watching alien ships surround the human colony of New Haven. The sleek Council vessels moved into position around the planet, cutting off all routes to space. Amy had been expecting this for the past 2 days. Colonel, we're receiving a message from the lead Council ship, reported Sergeant Bill Murphy from the communications station. Put it through, Amy said. The screen filled with the image of a tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms. Amy recognized him as Commander Vextar of the Zephyrian Fleet. His species had always been the most hostile toward humans. Human military. Leader, Vextar said in his cold, mechanical voice, you will prepare your people for immediate evacuation. Any resistance will be met with force. Amy kept her face calm, even though her heart was pounding. Commander, this is a peaceful colony. We have families here, children. Where are we supposed to go? That is not our concern. You have 6 hours to begin loading your transport ships. After that, we will assume you are resisting Council authority. The transmission ended, leaving Amy staring at a blank screen. She turned to her staff officers, all of whom looked worried and angry. Ma'am, what are your orders? Asked Lieutenant Carl Stone. Amy was quiet for a long moment. She had trained for combat her whole life, but she had never imagined a situation like this. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them New Haven is under blockade. Then start preparing the evacuation shuttles. Are we really going to run? Asked Sergeant Murphy. We're going to follow orders, Amy replied. And our orders are to protect the civilians. Back on Earth, in the secret laboratory under the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Rachel Kim had not slept for 3 days. She stood before a massive computer screen covered with equations and star charts. Her breakthrough was almost complete, but she needed just a few more hours. "Rachel, you need to rest," said her assistant Ben Rogers. "You can't think clearly when you're this tired." "I can rest when this is finished," Rachel replied, typing frantically. "The president is addressing the council in 2 hours. I need to know if this will work." The door opened and Admiral Lisa Carter walked in. She looked as tired as Rachel felt. "Any progress?" Lisa asked. "More than progress," Rachel said with a tired smile. "I think I've solved it. The quantum entanglement drive doesn't just let us travel without the council's jump gates. It lets us communicate across any distance instantly." Lisa's eyes widened. "You mean we could talk to our colonies even if the council cuts us off?" "More than that, we could coordinate a complete withdrawal if we needed to. Every ship, every colony, every person." "How many people are we talking about?" 3 billion humans on 47 different worlds, plus another billion on ships and space stations. Lisa sat down heavily. "That's almost half of our entire species." "I know, but if we're going to do this, we need to do it right. We can't leave anyone behind." At the same time, Ambassador Peter Stone was preparing for the most important meeting of his life. He sat in his quarters aboard the council's massive station, reading over his notes one final time. In 1 hour, he would stand before the 12 most powerful beings in the galaxy and deliver humanity's answer to their ultimatum. Peter had been Earth's ambassador to the council for 8 years. He had always tried to find peaceful solutions to problems. But this time, there might not be a peaceful solution. His door chimed, and his aide, Captain Lisa Webb, entered with a message tablet. "Sir, this just came in from Earth," she said. "It's marked urgent and personal from the president." Peter read the message quickly. His face grew pale, then determined. The message was short but clear. "Peter, deliver our answer exactly as we discussed. The future of humanity depends on it. We're ready for whatever comes next." An hour later, Peter stood in the great council chamber, surrounded by the most powerful aliens in the galaxy. The chamber was huge, with seats for thousands of delegates from hundreds of species. But today, only the 12 council members were present. At the center of the chamber sat Prime Minister Kethval of the Zephyrian Empire. He was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and cold black eyes. He had been the one pushing hardest for humanity's punishment. "Ambassador Stone," Kethval said in his harsh voice, "you have had 72 hours to consider our generous offer. What is humanity's response?" Peter stood up slowly. He looked around the chamber at the faces of the aliens who had controlled his species for 200 years. He thought about the 3 billion humans on distant worlds, waiting to learn their fate. "Honored council members," Peter began, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "I have been instructed by the government of Earth to deliver our response to your ultimatum." The chamber fell silent. Even the alien delegates in the upper gallery stopped talking. "Earth's answer is simple," Peter continued. "We reject your ultimatum completely. We will not abandon our colonies. We will not restrict ourselves to our home system. We will not accept the status you wish to force upon us." The silence that followed was deafening. For a moment, no one moved. Then Kethval stood up, his forearms trembling with rage. "You dare refuse the council?" he shouted. "You are nothing but primitives who learned to travel between stars yesterday." "You will do as you are told," Peter smiled calmly. "No, we won't. In fact, we're done taking orders from you entirely." "What does that mean?" demanded another council member. "It means," Peter said, "that as of this moment, humanity is withdrawing from the Galactic Council. We're going home. All of us." The chamber erupted in chaos as Peter walked toward the exit. Behind him, the aliens shouted and argued, unable to believe what they had just heard, but Peter wasn't listening anymore. He was thinking about the message he would send to Earth in just a few minutes. A message that would start the greatest exodus in human history. The universe was about to tremble. Commander Ryan Foster stood in the operations center of Earth's largest space station. watching dozens of screens showing human colonies across the galaxy. Each screen displayed the same scene, ships loading with people and supplies, preparing to leave everything behind. "Status report," Ryan called out to his team. "Colony ships from New Haven are launching now," reported Lieutenant Danny Clark. "They'll rendezvous with the fleet from Austin Colony in 6 hours. What about the mining stations in the Kepler sector?" "Already moving. Captain Sue Williams is leading the convoy. They should clear council space within 12 hours. Ryan nodded, but his face remained tense. This was the largest military operation in human history, and they were doing it without firing a single shot. 3 billion people were packing up their lives and moving to places that most of them had never heard of. "Sir," called out Sergeant Mike Johnson from another station, "we're getting reports that the council fleets are trying to intercept some of our ships." "Any conflicts?" "No, sir. Our ships are just ignoring them and jumping away. The aliens seem confused about what to do." Ryan almost smiled. The council had expected humans to either surrender or fight. They had not expected humanity to simply walk away. The alien commanders had no orders for dealing with a peaceful evacuation. On the bridge of the UES Horizon, Captain Jake Morrison was leading a convoy of colony ships toward the edge of known space. His exploration vessel had been converted into a guide ship, using its advanced sensors to find safe paths through dangerous regions. "Captain, we're approaching the coordinates Dr. Kim sent us," reported Lieutenant Kate Phillips. "I'm reading. 17 colony ships in formation behind us." Jake looked at the star chart on his screen. They were heading into a region that no human had ever explored. The council had always told them this area was too dangerous for colonization. Now Jake was beginning to wonder if the aliens had been lying about that too. "Any signs of council pursuit?" "None, sir. I think we're beyond their normal patrol routes." "Good. Signal the convoy to maintain formation. We're about to enter truly unknown space." Behind them, the colony ships carried over 2 million people from the Austin and New Haven colonies. These were farmers, engineers, teachers, and families who had spent their entire lives on distant worlds. Now they were refugees, following a star chart created by Dr. Kim's quantum computers. Back on Earth, Dr. Rachel Kim was coordinating the largest communication network in human history. Her quantum entanglement system was connecting every human, ship and colony simultaneously, allowing them to work together despite being scattered across the galaxy. "Rachel, this is incredible," said Admiral Lisa Carter, watching the data streams on the main screen. "We're talking to ships that are thousands of light years away, and there's no delay at all. The quantum particles don't care about distance." Rachel replied, typing commands into her computer. "As long as we have paired particles on both ends, we can communicate instantly." "How many ships are we tracking?" 8,437. Everything from colony ships to mining vessels to exploration scouts. Every human ship in the galaxy is part of this network." Lisa shook her head in amazement. "The Council never imagined we had this capability. They never imagined we would need it," Rachel said. "They thought we would always depend on their systems." At the same moment, in the council chamber, Prime Minister Kethville was facing the anger of his fellow council members. The meeting had been going on for hours, and tempers were getting worse. "You told us the humans would surrender," shouted Councillor Vexton of the Andromedans. "Instead, they're fleeing like scared animals?" "This is not fleeing," replied Councillor Zolther of the Crystalline Collective. "This is organized. They're moving their entire population in perfect coordination." "How is that possible?" demanded Kethville. "We control their communication systems." "Apparently we don't," said Councillor Murgath of the Tentacled Ones. "My intelligence reports say they're using some kind of instantaneous communication that we've never seen before." The chamber fell silent. For thousands of years, the Council had maintained power by controlling technology. If humans had developed something beyond Council knowledge, it changed everything. "Where are they going?" asked Councillor Hixara of the Scaled Ones. "Into the void regions," Kethville replied reluctantly. "Areas we declared too dangerous for colonization." And what if they weren't too dangerous? What if we just didn't want them exploring those areas? The question hung in the air like a deadly poison. Every council member knew the answer, but none of them wanted to say it out loud. Meanwhile, on the colony world of New Texas, Colonel Amy Rogers was overseeing the final evacuation. The planet's 2 million residents were boarding the last transport. Ships, taking only what they could carry. "Colonel, the Council fleet is demanding we leave behind all industrial equipment," reported Lieutenant Carlstone. "What did you tell them?" "I told them we'd consider it." Amy smiled grimly. "Good, keep stalling them until the last ship is loaded." She watched families carrying suitcases and children toward the transports. These people were leaving homes they had built over generations. They were abandoning farms, schools, and entire cities because the Council had decided they didn't deserve to exist. "Ma'am, the last transport is ready for departure," called out Sergeant Bill Murphy. "Then let's go home," Amy said. "Signal the fleet. New Texas is officially abandoned." As the human ships lifted off, they left behind empty cities and vacant farms. The Council forces moved in immediately, claiming the planet for redistribution among loyal species. But when they examined what the humans had left behind, they found something disturbing. The industrial equipment was gone. The computer systems had been wiped clean. Even the power plants had been dismantled and removed. The humans had taken everything of value and left only empty buildings. How did they move so much equipment so quickly? Asked Commander Vextar. His aide, a young Zephyrian officer, looked at the sensor readings. "Sir, I think they've been planning this for years, maybe decades. That's impossible." "We would have known. Would we? We never really paid attention to what the humans were doing. We just assumed they were grateful for our guidance." Captain Jake Morrison's convoy was now deep in unexplored space, following coordinates that Dr. Kim had calculated from ancient star charts. The region was beautiful, filled with young stars and untouched planets. "Captain, I'm reading habitable worlds in this system," reported Lieutenant Phillips. "At least 3 planets that could support human life." "Any signs of previous colonization?" "None, sir. But I am detecting something unusual. There are artificial structures on the 4th planet." Jake felt his pulse quicken. "What kind of structures?" "They look like ruins." "Very old. I think we've found something the Council didn't want us to see." Back at Earth Command, President Helen Brooks was watching the final phase of the evacuation. The last human ships were clearing Council space, heading toward rendezvous points in the void regions. "How many people have we moved?" she asked Ryan Foster. 3,200,000,000, he replied. "Every human colony, station, and outpost. We didn't leave anyone behind." "And our losses?" "0. The Council never fired a shot." "They were too confused by what we were doing," Helen nodded. She had gambled everything on the belief that the Council would not start a war over what appeared to be a peaceful withdrawal. It had worked. What's our next step? "We disappear," Ryan said simply. "We take our people to the hidden bases that Dr. Kim's teams have been preparing. We build new homes in places the Council has never explored. And we become truly independent. And if they come looking for us, they won't find us. Space is big, and we're very good at hiding." As the last human ship vanished into the void, the galaxy became a quieter place. The Council had gotten what they wanted. Humanity was gone, but they had no idea what they had really unleashed. In the darkness between stars, 3 billion humans were about to discover just how much their species could accomplish when they were truly free. The universe was already beginning to tremble. 5 years had passed since humanity vanished from Council space. In the great chamber of the Galactic Council, Prime Minister Kethval stood before his fellow leaders, looking older and more tired than ever before. "The quarterly reports are in," he announced to the gathered Council members. "Economic growth has slowed in 17 sectors. The Kepler mining operations have failed completely. 3 member species are requesting emergency aid." Counselor Vexton of the Andromedans slammed his fist on the table. "This is what happens when we let the humans go. They were supporting half our economy and we didn't even realize it. They were parasites, Kethwell replied, but his voice lacked conviction. We are better off without them, are we? Asked Counselor Zolther of the Crystalline Collective. Our trade routes are failing. Our communication networks are breaking down. The humans maintain systems we didn't even know existed. In the Kepler sector, Commander Vexstar stood in the ruins of what used to be the galaxy's largest mining operation. The massive machines that had once pulled rare metals from asteroid belts now sat silent and broken. His engineers had been trying to repair them for 3 years with no success. Commander, we've found the problem, reported his chief engineer. Sub-Commander Kickstall. The humans modified all the equipment with their own technology. Without their maintenance protocols, everything is failing. Can't we reverse engineer their modifications? We've tried, sir. Their engineering is too advanced. They were making improvements to our designs that we can't understand. Vexstar looked out at the dead machinery floating in space. The Zephyrians had been so proud of their mining technology. Now they realized that human engineers had been making it work better than they ever could. What about the other sectors? The same story everywhere. The humans weren't just using our technology. They were improving it, maintaining it, making it better. Without them, our infrastructure is falling apart. Meanwhile, in the void regions beyond Council space, humanity was thriving like never before. Admiral Jake Morrison, now in command of the exploration fleet, stood on the bridge of the UES Discovery, looking at a massive space station that had been built around a small moon. Construction report, he called out to his crew. New Haven Station is now home to 5 million people, reported Commander Kate Phillips, his former lieutenant who had been promoted to serve as his second-in-command. The manufacturing facilities are producing ships and equipment at twice the rate we achieved in Council space. What about the other colonies? All 47 new worlds are established and growing. Population is up by 12% over the past year. Dr. Kim's teams have made breakthrough discoveries on 15 different planets. Jake nodded with satisfaction. Freedom had unleashed human creativity in ways that none of them had expected. Without council regulations and restrictions, human scientists and engineers were advancing faster than ever before. Any word from the archaeology teams? Commander Stone's team has made another discovery. They found ruins on the third planet in the Omega system. The structures are over 10,000 years old. Jake's expression grew serious. Same pattern as the others? Yes, sir. Advanced civilization suddenly vanished. No signs of war or natural disaster, they just disappeared. In the underground laboratory of New Haven Station, Dr. Rachel Kim was studying artifacts that her teams had found in the ruins. The technology was incredibly advanced, far beyond anything the Council possessed. Rachel, what do you think happened to them? Asked Dr. Ben Rogers, her longtime assistant who had followed her into exile. I think they refused to submit, Rachel replied, running her scanner over a piece of crystalline technology. Look at this data. This civilization had quantum drive technology, instantaneous communication, advanced energy systems. They were more advanced than the Council is today. So why did they disappear? Maybe they didn't disappear, maybe they left. Maybe they did what we did, but on a much larger scale. Ben stared at the artifact. You think the Council has been doing this for thousands of years? Finding advanced species and forcing them to choose between submission and exile? I think that's exactly what they've been doing. The Council doesn't create. They don't invent. They just take over other species' technology and claim it as their own. Rachel's computer chimed with an incoming message. She opened it and her face went pale. What is it? Ben asked. It's from Earth, emergency priority. Something's happening in Council space, something bad. At that same moment, in the heart of Council space, ancient machines were awakening. Deep in the galactic core, where no living being had traveled for millennia, massive structures began to move. They had been sleeping for 10,000 years, but now they were stirring. The first sign of trouble came at the Council's most remote monitoring station. Captain Hilver of the Tentacled Ones was running a routine scan when his instruments detected something impossible. "Sir, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the galactic core," reported his sensor operator. "Power levels are off the charts. That's impossible. Nothing lives in the core region. The radiation levels are too high. Sir, whatever this is, it's not alive, it's artificial, and it's moving." The sensor readings showed hundreds of massive objects emerging from the radiation storms of the galactic core. They were ships, but unlike anything in the Council's databases, they were huge, angular, and completely black. They absorbed light instead of reflecting it. "Get me a direct link to the Council chamber," Hilver ordered. "Priority 1 emergency." But when he tried to send the message, nothing happened. The communication system was dead. All across Council space, the networks that had connected the galaxy for thousands of years were going silent. The ships emerging from the core were called the Void Reapers. They were the remnants of the first great civilization that had ruled the galaxy millions of years ago. They had built the Council species, used them as servants, and then been overthrown in a great war that had nearly destroyed the galaxy, but they had not been destroyed. They had been sleeping, waiting for the right moment to reclaim what they believed was theirs. Now they were awake. And they were angry. The first world to fall was Proxima Colony, a Zephyrian planet near the galactic core. The Void Reapers arrived. Without warning, their dark ships appearing in the system like shadows made solid. They did not negotiate or demand surrender. They simply began destroying everything. The Zephyrian defense fleet tried to fight back, but their weapons had no effect. On the Reaper ships, the dark vessels moved through space like living things, avoiding attacks and striking back with energy weapons that could destroy entire cities within 6 hours. Proxima Colony was gone, not conquered or occupied, but completely destroyed. The Reapers had turned the planet into a dead rock floating in space. Word of the attack spread quickly through what remained of the Council's communication network. Panic began to set in as more reports came in. The Reapers were not just attacking one world. They were moving through Council space like a plague, destroying everything in their path. In the Council chamber, Prime Minister Kethvil stood before the emergency session, his forearms shaking with fear. "We are facing an extinction-level threat," he announced. "The Void Reapers have returned. Our ancestors' greatest nightmare has come back to destroy us. How do we stop them?" asked Counselor Murgath. "We don't know. Our weapons are useless against them. Our shields can't protect us. Our fleets are being destroyed faster than we can deploy them. What about the archive data? The records from the ancient war? Lost. The humans maintained most of our data systems. When they left, they took their knowledge with them." The chamber fell silent as the full weight of their situation became clear. They had driven away the one species that might have been able to help them, and now they were facing an enemy they could not defeat. "We need to contact the humans," said Counselor Zalther quietly. "Impossible," Kethvil replied. "We don't know where they went. They've been silent for 5 years. Then we need to find them." "How? They could be anywhere in the galaxy." As if in answer to his question, every screen in the chamber suddenly came to life. The image that appeared was of a human woman in a military uniform standing on the bridge of a ship that none of them recognized. "Greetings, Galactic Council," said Admiral Lisa Carter. "This is Admiral Carter of the United Earth Space Command. We've been monitoring your situation. We need to talk." The council members stared at the screen in shock. After 5 years of silence, the humans had returned. But they were no longer the same species that had fled council space. They looked stronger, more confident, more advanced. "How did you break through our communication barriers?" asked Kethvil. "We didn't break through them," Admiral Carter replied. "We replaced them. Your old systems have been failing for years. We've been maintaining the network you didn't even know existed." "What do you want?" "To save the galaxy," Carter said simply. "The Void Reapers are not just your problem. They're everyone's problem. And despite what you did to us, we're not going to let innocent people die." The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. The humans had returned, but not as refugees or supplicants. They had come back as equals. Maybe even as superiors, the universe was about to discover what humanity had become in the darkness between stars. The human fleet emerged from the void like ghosts becoming real. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching as hundreds of human ships dropped out of quantum space around the besieged world of Zephyria Prime. The planet cities were burning, under attack by the dark ships of the Void Reapers. "Fleet status report," Jake called out to his crew. "All ships in position," reported Commander Kate Phillips. "We have 400 vessels ready for combat. The Reapers have 60 ships in the system. Are our new weapons online?" "Yes, sir. Dr. Kim's quantum disruption technology is ready to deploy." Jake looked at the tactical display showing the battle below. The Zephyrian defense fleet was being destroyed piece by piece. Their weapons could not even scratch the Reaper ships, while the enemy's dark energy beams cut through Zephyrian shields like they were made of paper. "Signal all ships," Jake ordered. "Begin the attack." The human fleet moved forward in perfect formation. Their ships looked different from anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of the bulky designs favored by council species, human vessels were sleek and fast, built with technology that had been developed in the hidden colonies. On the surface of Zephyria Prime, Prime Minister Kethful watched from his command bunker as the human ships engaged the Reapers. He had spent 5 years calling humans primitive and weak. Now they were the only thing standing between his people and extinction. "Sir, the human ships are using some kind of new weapon," reported his aide. "The Reaper vessels are actually taking damage." Kethful stared at the tactical screen in disbelief. The dark ships that had seemed invincible were now struggling against human attacks. Beams of pure quantum energy struck the Reaper vessels, causing them to flicker and fade like shadows. "Exposed to light? How is this possible?" he whispered Dot above the planet. The battle was turning. The Void Reapers had been dominant for so long that they had forgotten what it meant to face an equal opponent. Their ancient technology was powerful, but it was also predictable. The humans had studied the Reaper attacks on other worlds and learned their weaknesses. "Target the lead Reaper ship," Jake ordered. "All weapons maximum power." The used Defiance fired its main quantum cannon, sending a beam of concentrated energy toward the largest Reaper vessel. The dark ship tried to dodge, but the human weapon followed it through space, striking it directly in the center. The Reaper ship exploded in a burst of dark energy, sending fragments spinning into the void. "Direct hit," reported the weapons officer. "Enemy flagship destroyed." Across the fleet, human ships were achieving similar results. The Reapers, confused by this unexpected resistance, began to retreat toward the edge of the system. "Let them go," Jake ordered when his weapons officer asked for permission to pursue. "We're here to protect the planet, not hunt down every enemy ship." As the last Reaper vessel vanished into quantum space, a message came through from the planet below. Prime Minister Kethful appeared on the main screen, looking humbled and grateful. "Admiral Morrison," the Zephyrian leader said, we thank you for your intervention. You have saved our world." "We didn't do it for you," Jake replied calmly. "We did it because it was the right thing to do. I understand. But still, we are grateful. How can we repay this debt?" "By learning to do better." The transmission ended, leaving Jake alone with his thoughts. The victory at Zephyria Prime was just the beginning. Intelligence reports showed that the Reapers had dozens of fleets moving through Council space, destroying everything in their path on Earth. President Helen Brooks was coordinating the largest military operation in human history from the war room beneath the Capitol. Screens around her showed the locations of human fleets across the galaxy, each one moving to intercept. "Reaper attacks. Status report from all fronts," she called out to General Paul Henderson. "Fleet 7 has secured the Andromeda sector," Paul reported. "Fleet 12 is engaging Reaper forces near the Crystal Worlds. Fleet 20 has just arrived at the Tentacled homeworld. Casualties? Minimal. Our quantum shielding is holding against their weapons." "The Reapers seem confused by our technology," Helen nodded. The 5 years in exile had not been wasted. Human scientists had studied every piece of ancient technology they could find, learning secrets that the Council had never discovered. The result was a military force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. What about the Council's response to our intervention? Mixed. Some species are grateful, others are suspicious. They can't understand why we're helping them after what they did to us. They'll understand eventually. In the ruins of the ancient civilization on Omega-3, Dr. Rachel Kim was making the discovery that would change everything. She stood in a vast underground chamber, looking at a holographic display that had been activated by her quantum scanners. "Ben, you need to see this," she called to her assistant. Dr. Ben Rogers ran over to where Rachel was standing. The hologram showed a star map of the entire galaxy, but it was not like any map they had ever seen. It showed the locations of dozens of extinct civilizations, all connected by lines of light. "What is it?" Ben asked. "It's a network," Rachel replied in amazement. All these civilizations were connected. They shared knowledge, technology, resources. They were working together. What happened to them? Rachel manipulated the hologram, bringing up historical data. The Void Reapers. Every few million years, they wake up and destroy any civilization that becomes too advanced. They've been doing this for billions of years. But why? Control. The Reapers were the first intelligent species in the galaxy. They think everything belongs to them. When other species become too powerful, they eliminate them. Ben stared at the display. The Council species, are they ... descendants of the survivors. The Reapers keep them around as servants, but they never let them become too advanced. That's why the Council suppresses younger species. They're following programming that's millions of years old. Rachel's discovery explained everything. The Council's treatment of humanity, their fear of human advancement, their control over technology, it was all part of an ancient system designed to keep the galaxy weak and divided. "Rachel," Ben said quietly, "if this is true, then we're not just fighting the Reapers. We're fighting the entire galactic order." "I know, but maybe that's what needs to happen." The final battle came 3 weeks later. The Void Reapers had gathered their remaining forces at the galactic core, preparing for one massive assault that would destroy every advanced civilization in the galaxy. Intelligence reports showed over 1,000 Reaper ships massing for attack. Admiral Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, flagship of the combined human fleet. Around her, 600 human vessels prepared for the battle that would determine the galaxy's future. "All fleets reporting ready," announced Captain Ryan Foster from the communication station. "Council forces, standing by." They've contributed what ships they can, but most of their fleets were destroyed in the early attacks. Lisa looked at the tactical display showing the massive Reaper formation. It was the largest concentration of enemy forces ever assembled. Even with their advanced technology, this would be humanity's greatest test. "Open a channel to all ships," she ordered. "Channel open, Admiral." "This is Admiral Carter to all human vessels. Today we face an enemy that has terrorized the galaxy for millions of years. They believe that might makes right, that the strong should rule the weak. They are wrong. Today, we show them that courage and determination are stronger than fear and oppression. Today we fight not just for humanity, but for every species that dreams of freedom. All ships, attack." The human fleet surged forward, their quantum drives leaving trails of light in the darkness. Behind them came the remnants of the Council. Fleets, inspired by human courage to make one final stand. The battle was fierce and terrible. Reaper ships fell to human weapons, but they fought back with desperate fury. Dark energy beams lanced through space, destroying human vessels even as their crews fought to the end. But humanity had learned something in their years of exile. They had learned that freedom was worth any sacrifice. One by one, the Reaper ships were destroyed, their ancient technology no match for human innovation and determination. When the last Reaper vessel exploded in a burst of dark fire, the galaxy fell silent. For the first time in millions of years, the Void Reapers were truly defeated. In the aftermath, as rescue ships moved through the debris field, Admiral Carter opened a channel to the surviving council members. "The threat is ended," she announced. "The Reapers are destroyed. The galaxy is free." "What happens now?" asked Prime Minister Kethful. "Now you get to choose. You can go back to the old ways, keeping species divided and weak, or you can build something better. A galaxy where all species are equal partners, not rulers and servants, and humanity? Will you return to the council? Not the old council? But if you're willing to create something new, something fair, then yes, we'll be your partners, not your subjects." Years later, historians would mark this as the moment when the galaxy truly changed. The old council was dissolved, replaced by a federation where every species had an equal voice. The ancient cycle of oppression was finally broken, and at the center of it all was humanity, the species that had walked away from tyranny and returned to offer freedom to everyone else.